Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gaines for Girls podcast. Very glad that you're here. As you know by now, you can check out all things Gaines for Girls at OutKick.com. I want you to do that. That's where you can like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And you can share these episodes far and wide, which helps. Today's guest. Actually, you know what? I don't even think she needs much of an introduction. Cue the clip.
If at this point you still feel like you can trust the government, good luck, Charlie.
America's mom. We're going to be talking with Leigh-Allyn Baker, who has just been a force. She was a force in her acting days, and she continues to be a force with the platform, the debate that she has found herself in the center of now. Check out this interview here with Leigh-Allyn Baker, or as I know her, Amy Duncan. Well, Leigh-Allyn Baker, welcome to the Gaines for Girls podcast. This is like the honor of a lifetime for me. I feel like I'm talking to Amy Duncan on the other side of the screen. So thank you for joining. You have just become someone who really I admire a whole lot, and just a dear friend. Like I feel like I could reach out to you for anything. So thank you for everything that you've done for me personally, for the movement. Before I ask you anything about what you're doing now,
yes,
I alluded to you as Amy Duncan, and that's of course
facts. I mean, like no cap.
That's how I feel like most people. That's how most people I feel like know you. Of course, from Good Luck Charlie, at least from my generation. So before we get into anything, I just wanted to ask a little bit about your background. You know, what drew you to acting? How did you get your start in the industry?
Was born, I feel like God had always put it on my heart that this is what I was supposed to do. In fact, I would feel sorry for kids that would say, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Because I'd be like, how do you not know? I know. I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to, well, I thought I was going to be Julia Roberts. That didn't happen.
You're my Julia Roberts.
I love you. Thank you. But I will settle for Amy Duncan because I think she's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, she really is. What was it like? I mean, working on the cast of Good Luck Charlie, do you get to keep in touch with any members? I mean, what was that experience like for you?
That experience was one of the highlights of my career. And honestly, Riley, I was so bummed when I got this show because I thought that the Disney Channel was where adults' careers go to die. And I just had a series on HBO that was advertised and supposed to be the next big thing with Lily Tomlin and Mary-Kate Place and Gary Cole. And it was the part of a lifetime. And then HBO went crazy and somebody slapped somebody else. And long story short, they pulled it. $30 million into a project that absolutely went nowhere. And I was like, hello, square one. That was the story of my career, was hello, square one. I would get a pilot. Nope. Get a series. Nope. It was get second on this. I was so close. I was like at the party. I just couldn't get my drink. That's what it felt like in my whole career. And then I was pregnant and went into an audition and didn't care. And in fact, when I just tested for Good Luck Charlie, I wouldn't go to the auditions because I was like, I'm making a baby. I got things to do today. And then I went in to test and kind of match up with the family. And I remember Jason Dolly saying to me, you stepped on one of my lines. And I was like, listen, buddy, I made ears today. I don't know what you did. My day's been pretty productive. Anyway, they all laughed. And it was just so meant to be. That cast was so dear, to my heart. And it was just the best. It could not have been a better experience. I got to have both of my babies on that show, to be a mom and to work and bring your babies to work with you. And I only worked 5 months out of the year. The other rest of the months of the year, I was with my babies. It was just the sweetest spot and was so close to everyone, genuinely so close until I opened my mouth.
The forbidden act of opening your mouth.
Yes, the forbidden act of going to a school board meeting and using my mouth, and was labeled, instantly by Joe Biden as a domestic terrorist. That was the school board meeting that I went to. And mine was the video that went viral. And all I did was thank everyone for, me being greeted with open arms in Tennessee. And I mentioned the dreaded vaccine word. It's the word no one is allowed to mention. And in doing so, everyone, I think, saw what happened to me and was afraid. And so they didn't want that to touch them. I even heard from a few people in the cast, love you. We just don't want any of that on us. It was a shame. I thought I raised them better than that. um, you stand by your family. Even if you disagree, you can say, I don't agree with their stance on that, but I know her heart and I love her, So
That's right. That's right. A similar position I found myself in.
I knew the reason I came out against the mask is because I had read the Rockefeller manuscript called Lockstep. And I knew that if they locked one form of top-down authority into place, that's when they took the step to the next. See, the lockstep. So I knew that restricting our oxygen was a way to gain complete authority over what only God and we have autonomy over, our bodies. If you can restrict our movement, restrict our oxygen, well, now you've got precedence to inject us with a medical product from the most corrupt industry in the history of the world. And I was just not going to go down that way. I would fight to the death for my kids.
When you put it like that, it sounds, it's just remarkable to me that so many fell for it. Even so many who now, are fully on our side, who at the time were fully on our side, but are now bold enough to say it. Like, I can't believe that as a nation, really worldwide, this is something that we fell for. And so you mentioned, of course, some of the response you got, right? Immediately being labeled as a domestic terrorist, which
yeah, I was a homophobic from saying that I'm not going to put a mask on my kids or give them vaccines. And really, honestly, really what I said was that the school board didn't have the right to make that decision. And newsflash, they don't. They don't have the constitutional right to restrict your breathing, restrict your movement, and force medicate you. And that was just so controversial at the time that I got death threats, rape threats. I was labeled a homophobic racist. I guess, and I had done 26 episodes of Will and Grace, and now I'm homophobic. I don't know how that happened. So people went nuts. They wanted to murder me, murder my children. I kept dick pics sent to me all the time on Facebook and Instagram that my poor manager's like, delete, delete, delete. Another day at the office. Like, it was really, the world went wackadoo.
Now, is that when you moved to Tennessee?
When I moved to Tennessee, I think I'd made it 48 days of lockdown, and they kept extending it. And I realized I am a homebody until someone tells me that I have to stay home, and then I can't wait to get outdoors. I do not like being told what to do. Riley, I get mad at the weather app on our phone now. This is my latest problem, is that they're grooming us to accept whatever narrative they tell us. Did you know that not only does it give you the real actual temperature, but it tells you what it feels like? Tell me what I feel like when I go outside. It makes me so mad. But yeah, it drives me crazy. So that's kind of in a nutshell what happened.
So since taking this stance, were you still at the time pursuing different acting opportunities? Like has this affected your career in entertainment at all?
Yes, I at the time had a pilot with Disney Channel that I was 100% the lead in. And I had been executive producing and taking and working on projects with them this entire time. And then they made it very clear that we were getting a divorce and we would not be back together. But we love our child. Good luck, Charlie. Again, it's the same thing. Those people knew me, were very loyal. It's a loyal company. They were very loyal with working with me until my narrative didn't agree with the political narrative that corporation was forced to push. And I say that because I do believe that corporations were forced to push things. And that is always my plea to parents. Disney Channel, Disney corporate is a business. It is not your moral compass. It is not for you to worship. It is, don't make it a false idol. It is a company there to make money. DIE was, they had to, I guess George Soros came in with a yellow vest and said, I'm on this committee. You have to do this, that, and the other. And so they fell for it and did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the case for, again, it wasn't just Disney. Disney, I think in many people's minds, were kind of like the leader of it. or at least the most out there. But it was across the board. It breaks my heart, and I think it's become more visible to the public just how unwilling Hollywood is to diverse political opinion, and how we see this total pressure to conform. On the other side of that, the flip side, have you connected with other actors or public figures who, I mean, of course, share the same beliefs, but agree with you, whether that is in private or in public?
Thousands in private.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
that's not surprising.
And this was always my favorite question. I don't want to get the vaccine, but I can't lose my job. What am I going to do? I'm like, I literally just stood in front of America and lost everything, and lost my home, the friends that I had, the community that I built, the jobs that I had, money gone. And you're going to sit here and say to me, what do I do?
Yeah.
You give it up. You give it up. You fight for what's right. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be on my deathbed saying I should have done one more series with Disney. I'm
No.
going to say I spoke the truth. I stood up for what was right. I stood up and defended a generation. Who better than me to stand up and protect this generation? You're my kids. I helped raise you, and I'm going to stand up for the truth.
And if you won't, who will?
Right.
So, there seems to be like a total divide between Hollywood and middle America. That's something I think we certainly saw. I mean, I can think up leading up to the election where we had people campaigning for Kamala Harris, like Oprah, people, Eminem was posting in support, Billie Eilish. I mean, the list goes on of everyone who was either sharing a stage with her, Megan Thee Stallion, or was posting in support of her. But there's just it didn't work. That's the bottom line here. Is actually I think it had the opposite effect as it was intended to. So there's this huge divide, this big gap. I mean, what can be done to really bridge that gap?
That is the hard part, right? That's one of the reasons that I'm going around to universities is at first I thought it was to teach them to be brave enough and stand up to cancel culture and speak the truth. But soon it turned into kids from the other side who disagree with me kind of infiltrating those meetings. And I won them over just by speaking truth and kindness. I mean, you and I are both Christians. We believe that God says, love God and love others. And it is a tough thing to do sometimes in the face of hatred and vitriol, is to say, hey, we're on the same team. But that is the truth. We are on the same team. I don't view this as left versus right, gay versus straight, black versus white, men versus women. I view this as we the people versus this teeny tiny little global elite of evil, maniacal people. So that's kind of how I look at it. And so I feel like we have a responsibility to not only share the truth and communicate clearly with kindness, but to also listen to the other side, because both sides agree that there are problems that we have. We just disagree on how to solve those problems because we've each been given different information that we're exposed to and different experiences. If you have sat in front of CNN, you have been brainwashed and you're going to have a different opinion of what is going on in the world. If you've walked out your front door, lived it, and know what's going on, you're going to have a different experience. But at the same time, I live in a free country, and I love that about our country. So I believe that every person has the right to make whatever medical decision they want to make for themselves.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting you mentioned that about campuses. Just this past week, I was at UNC Wilmington in conjunction with Turning Point. And of course, I mean, hundreds of protesters show up and they stand at the back and they have their posters and they're waving their little, trans flag, whatever it is. But it was amazing to me because by the end of it, all of their posters were down. They weren't waving their flags anymore. They were intrigued. They were asking questions. They stayed the entire time. That they were really respectful. I was so glad that they were there, and they left there being, of course, maybe we don't agree on everything. That would be a bad thing, I think, if we did. But they left there agreeing with the sentiment that men and women inherently, innately, biologically are different. And that to me is worth more than a room full of supporters being there. So I'm so glad that you're on campuses. I think it was last year, I saw a video of you at maybe Baylor. I think it was a school in Texas, and the room was like filled. Everyone was cheering. Of course, I saw you at AmFest, which always makes me so excited. I hope I will see you at YWLS this year.
You will.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So on top of, I mean, you've been like a champion for parental rights and of course, medical freedom, and the list goes on. What other policies or movements are you passionate about supporting?
Well, I've been really passionate. You have opened my eyes to a whole new movement too, like defending girls who work so hard, knowing that there's a biological difference. I'm so proud of you. I'm a fan of you. I know you sit there and say you are of me, but honestly, I feel like the two of us, different subject matters, but we're really on the same journey. And so I felt a real kinship and a partnership with you. And I'm so proud of you. The difference in you and I is that, I'm a 50-year-old woman. So I have like a lifetime to give me courage. And the fact that, I want to weep at the age that you were that this happened to you. It makes me sad that adults in the room couldn't stand up for you and that you did this all on your own. Like, I literally think, gosh, how old were you when you were in that locker room?
Yeah, 20, 21. Yeah. But there were girls. You go off to college, some girls are 17 years old.
I mean, even 20 is like too crazy young. A guy comes into a locker room with me and drops trout, and I'm going to be like, cover that thing up, because I've lived life. I've found my voice, but it takes time to find it. And once you do, you can't unfind it. It's there. Right. So you have found yours at such a young age. The potential that you have to shape the world for good is limitless. I'm just so proud of you and so grateful for you.
You're so sweet. What other projects are you working on at the moment?
So I'm really excited about the show that I produced called The Adventures of Iggy and Mr. Kirk with Brave Plus, Brave Books. I know you wrote a Brave book.
Yes.
I did too. This is mine right here called One Small Little Voice. It's about a princess who finds her voice, but it's really not. It's about fill in the blank. Me at the school board meeting, you standing up to defend. It's using your one small voice. It takes just one voice to stand up for many, then many can join and be voices of plenty. So I met with Brave Books when I wrote this, and then they had an idea for a television show. And then they realized we've never done this before and we don't know what we're doing. You have done this, and can you help us? And it's in that moment, had I not been canceled, had every opportunity that I had worked on before not been shut down and shoved in my face, I would not have known what God has really prepared me to do. When I walked in there, Riley, I knew how to do all the things. It's like God had been Mr. Miyagiing me for years of working in the television industry. I had been soaking it all in, and anybody can executive produce. I mean, I was very hands-on when I executive produce. It usually just means you add title and decision-making processes to things. But this was like, no, boots on the ground.
You're it.
You're calling the shots on the quad, lower camera A, camera B, get in an angle. I want camera C on a close-up. I was able to do this because God had put me in this position, and I never would have guessed it. But it turned out to be just a really great experience. And the show is coming out March 27th on Brave Plus. I believe for the first 3 episodes, it can be found on YouTube because they do want to reach the masses. It is what I would like to say is a biblical foundational Mr. Rogers meets the Muppets with a little bit of Sesame Street thrown in. It is all the things that were so good and sweet and kind about our childhood shows, and, coming together in a way that they hope, and I hope, earns the trust of parents. We want parents to give us a shot at earning their trust.
I love that, which is more important now than ever. We have seen how, whether it's television, whether it's social media, whatever it is, we've seen the influence that has had on especially the younger generation, how that really shapes their values. So there could not be a better time for this new show, Iggy and Mr. Kirk out there. We love Kirk. He has been on this podcast before. Again, he's another just person who I trust and who I admire, who is doing the right thing. So that's exciting. What kind of like values and foundations are you guys teaching? Like, I imagine it's similar to Brave Books in the capacity, how they do things, communicating messages through of course, a biblical lens, but also in a way that's easy for kids to understand. So what are some of the values that you guys have some episodes on?
Forgiveness, loving your neighbor, telling the truth, not lying.
What about things like the idea of being pro-life? Is that something that you guys engage in?
There is an episode called Little Lives Matter. And it is about how Iggy wants to go fishing, but this stupid bird flew in the window and tried to steal his worms, and now it's hurt. And Mr. Kirk, comes in and as his parent, as his moral compass, and says, we really need to take care of this life. And Iggy doesn't want to. It's ruining his day. He wants to go fishing. He wants to hang out with Mr. Kirk. And through the episode, Iggy learns his lesson through talking with children who one child is going to be a new brother and doesn't want the baby to come along and doesn't want, a new baby in the house that's going to be noisy and messy. And Mr. Kirk gives him biblical advice. And then through reading a Brave book, the book Little Lives Matter, Iggy starts to learn his lesson. And in the end, he ends up taking care of the bird, and the bird eventually flies away. And you see that that bird is a mama bird, and it's got little ones of its own to look after. So the stories are sweet and kind and good and quite funny. Some of them are really hilarious. There's an episode where Iggy the iguana wants to be a real boy because he thinks his father will love him more if he's a real boy and not an iguana. And so he starts talking like dude and no cap, and he starts trying to act like a real boy. And he realizes that he's not good at pretending to be a human. God made him to be an iguana.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the message is there. And again, that is what kids need to hear. That is what they've been denied of, actually. And the response has been good from people who have been able to see some sneak peeks and people who have been on the ground.
Yes. Yeah. Parents are really loving it. They have a whole team of people that they've sent it out to try to get feedback from. And everyone so far loves it. And the kids really enjoy watching it, which is great. Yeah. I wrote a song for it. That's another thing I didn't know I could do. Like, I wrote the goodnight song for it.
Okay, see, this wouldn't have happened if you weren't canceled.
100%.
That's amazing. And one more time, where can families watch Iggy and Mr. Kirk?
So at first you can find it. You can go to braveplus.com and you can watch the first 3 episodes on YouTube. If you like that for less than a cup of coffee, you can subscribe. I think it's $4.99 a month, and you can get all of the content. And it's a really sweet, good show.
I love how you mentioned less than a cup of coffee, because that is so true. I find people who will, whatever the subscription is to these wholesome things that conservatives or Christians put forward, they're not willing to do it. But you're right. You spend easily $6-7 in the Starbucks drive-through.
Yes. So, by the way, that's pumped full of chemicals and artificial, all the things that you shouldn't be drinking anyway. So
there we go.
Throw that out there.
There we go. That's another passion of hers, is making America healthy again.
That's right. We got to make America healthy again.
Last thing for you. How do you respond to people or critics who say that actors should just stay out of politics?
Yeah. Like, I hear you. You probably should. We probably should, but unfortunately, politics, I keep trying to get out and it pulls me back in, Totally. If they didn't come for my kids, I would have kept my mouth shut. I had my mouth shut for a long time, but once you come after my kids, I'm going to pop you in the mouth and come out with the truth. I come out swinging, and I'll take on any liberal talking head from Hollywood at any time to discuss any issue. I have no fear about it.
And this is why you're America's mom. So we're so grateful for you. I can't wait for Iggy and Mr. Kirk to air. Really exciting stuff. So thank you. I have a little nephew now. He's about 6 months old. And so that has just been like the joy of a lifetime. Being an aunt. I know, it's the best thing ever. So very excited for him to be able to, he already gets the Brave books, but to be able to watch Iggy and Mr. Kirk. He loves Bluey. That's the thing right now.
Well, this is even, so this has some funny elements that kind of like run along the lines of Bluey, but it's slower for the kids to digest in pace of visuals so that it's healthy for them neurologically as well. It's not so flashy. I'm really excited to see what the world thinks of this. I think it's going to do really, really well.
Well, I can't wait. So thank you. You keep standing up, keep being firm for whatever the cause is. We're really grateful for you.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you, Riley.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Gaines for Girls podcast. Again, Iggy and Mr. Kirk is here on March 27th. We've got the official trailer to show you.
Let's just start from the top.
The top of what?
Hello, brave explorers. Welcome to my treehouse.
Finally, a quality children's TV show that reinforces wholesome values.
Thanks for teaching me about honesty today.
You told the truth when it wasn't easy.
Through a biblical lens.
God designs every part of us, from each hair on our head.
Or scales.
Guess that means that God didn't make a mistake with me.
He made a work of art with you. I'd say a true, one-of-a-kind masterpiece.
While having fun.
You got this, Iggs?
Take cover! Hey, Iggy!
The sweetest little bear cub was born, and bit by bit he grew.
Hear ye, hear ye!
Arthur gave a massive roar.
Best pilot ever!
I'll race ya.
Go!
Yeah!
May the Lord bless you and keep you, and be gracious unto you, and give you peace.
Good night, Iggs.
Night.
And good night, brave explorers.
Again, March 27th. That is the cutest thing ever. It's the show that I think many families have been waiting for. Faith, fun, family, values all wrapped into one. So watch it, share it, spread the word, because that is ultimately how we create the culture we want to see for the next generation. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you again next week. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. The fight to save women's sports and restore common sense is far from over, and I continue the conversation every week. So make sure to catch more content over here and subscribe to OutKick so you don't miss a thing.